Now, President Trump and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, they are not getting along. Apparently, they're having a very strained relationship. Now, the Washington Post recently reported that the relationship between President Trump and Senator Mitch McConnell has disintegrated to the point where they have not spoken to each other in weeks. So they are not calling each other. Sad. Now, that is both amusing and also sort of advantageous to people who are against both Trump and Mitch McConnell. Now, not only that, but McConnell has also privately expressed uncertainty that Mr. Trump will be able to salvage his administration after a series of summer crises that I will add are self-inflicted. Most of what happened to the Trump administration is not because of the lefties, not because of the media going after him. No, it's because of things that he said and he did. And you can go through and you can find the tweets where he said ridiculous things, where he went after his own staff. You can find the speeches where he went after his own Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. All that stuff is publicly available. You can find it. Now, unfortunately, they do not show that stuff. They don't show criticism of President Trump on Fox News. So there's half the population that actually watches Fox News that has no idea. And they have no idea that Trump has even said all these things and has been criticized for them. That is ridiculous. Okay, there's more. Now, the Post continues. What was once an uneasy governing alliance has now curdled into a feud of mutual resentment and sometimes outright hostility, complicated by the position of Mr. McConnell's wife, Ellen Chao, in Mr. Trump's cabinet. And this is according to more than a dozen people briefed on their partnership. So, boy, it's not good. So here's an example. Angry phone calls and private bad-mouthing have now devolved into open conflict, with the president threatening to oppose Republican senators who cross him and Mr. McConnell mobilizing to their defense. So, look, this is as bad as you can get, right? Almost as bad as you can get, I should say. You've just pissed off the leader of the Senate. That leader of the Senate, he didn't get there by himself. He had to make a lot of connections. He had to raise a lot of money. So he is the Republican establishment. Now, I know Trump doesn't like the Republican establishment, but he kind of needs them if they're going to get anything done. Now, of course, it's good for Trump's base. Trump's base hates McConnell. They hate the establishment, so it's good for Trump in that respect, in that regard. But, look, and it might even be good for Trump in Kentucky, by the way, because Mitch McConnell has an 18% approval rating in Kentucky, but he's always had a low approval rating. But that doesn't matter because he outspends his opponents. He gets all this money from coal companies, and then the Democrats will run people like Allison, I love coal more than you, Lundergan Grimes, who will lose to Mitch McConnell. So he may have a very low approval rating, but he continues to win because he's good at it. He's also a shameless serial liar, saying, oh, I will protect Connect, which is the Kentucky version of Obamacare, while going and trying to vote to destroy Obamacare. So that's the kind of person that we're dealing with. He is unscrupulous, he is ruthless, and he's actually really good at it. Now, there's more. How this is bad for Trump. Again, I just talked about how ruthless he is, right? This is a guy that can break him. If Robert Mueller comes out with his report anytime soon, and it's got anything bad inside of there for Trump, McConnell's the guy who can break his back like a boy. So he can get the Republicans to either defend Donald Trump in the Senate or to go against him. That is not someone you want to piss off. Not only that, but Trump needs McConnell in order to get anything done. So again, he's going after his allies, not realizing the damage that he's causing to his own agenda. But again, he's an idiot. He's a child. He doesn't understand any of this. He doesn't understand politics. And that's another criticism that he gets from McConnell. Now, the infighting, of course, comes at a very bad time. And when is there a good time? But this is especially bad. Republicans have a number of deadlines if they want to hit, that they have to hit after they return from their recess. So right now they're on recess until next month. When they come back, they got shit to do. We got the debt ceiling fight that's coming right at us. It's like a freight train. It's about to run over everybody. And you also have the Republican priority, and this is why they supported Trump for so long. A lot of the Republicans did, is because they're giant tax cuts for the rich. They want that badly. Now, maybe they can work together with Trump on that and get over their differences. I don't know. But on the debt ceiling, already, Trump has threatened to let the country default if he doesn't get what he wants. Oh, I'm gonna not approve the debt ceiling hike unless I get funding for the wall. The wall, that most Republicans are like, yeah, we're not really gonna build a wall. We actually like the cheap foreign labor coming in. We think it's good for us. It kind of depresses wages a little bit. So yeah, we're good with that. We don't really want to build a wall. Plus, it's fucking stupid. I mean, we had recent reports of drug runners flying drones filled with drugs. So what going to stop that? No, a wall is not going to stop that. It is a ridiculous idea. But nonetheless, he's trying to do it. He's trying to commit political suicide. And look, it doesn't matter if Donald Trump commits political suicide, which he's definitely trying to do. It's not just going to affect him. It's going to bring the rest of the Republicans down with him. If the government shuts down because of Trump being an obstinate jackass, the Republican Party itself is also going to suffer. And that's not good for either of them. Okay. Now, the article back in the Post notes that a few of the back and forths that they had. So here's a little snapshot into their relationship and the animosity running between the two. In a series of tweets this month, Mr. Trump criticized Mr. McConnell publicly and berated him in a phone call that quickly devolved into a profane shouting match. And this is the last phone call they had. And since then, they haven't talked. Like, that was it. During the call, which Mr. Trump initiated on August 9th from Bedminster, his New Jersey golf club, the president accused McConnell of bungling the healthcare issue. You want to talk about bungling. Look at what all of Donald Trump has done on the healthcare issue. You want to say that's bungling. Now, he was even more animated about what he intimated was the Senate leader's refusal, and this is the thing that gets him the worst, the most angry, is his refusal to protect him from the Russia investigation. Now, this is according to Republicans briefed on the conversation. So these Republicans are saying, yeah, Trump got super pissed. He doesn't think McConnell is protecting him enough from Russia. Well, what's McConnell supposed to do? There's not a whole lot. You can't really put a stop to Robert Mueller. I mean, Trump could fire him, yes. But boy, would that bring in a world of hurt. It would not be a good idea. And all these Republicans are saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Now, not only that, there's more. Mr. McConnell, for his turn, has fumed over Mr. Trump's regular threats against fellow Republicans, for example, Jeff Flake, and criticism of Senate rules, where Trump came out and said, well, why don't you just get rid of the filibuster? Just nuke the filibuster then. Then we'll get everything that we want. Yeah, but if you nuke the filibuster, the Democrats regain control. Well, then there's not going to be a filibuster. They're not going to be able to do their record obstruction like they did during the Obama years. So that's the trade-off with that. You get rid of the filibuster, what's going to prevent the Democrats from doing the same and ramming through everything they want when they get control? Those are the political calculations. Those are the trade-offs. Donald Trump's a child. He doesn't understand any of that. He is not sophisticated enough in politics to understand the Senate rules. And look, there's a lot of Senate rules, and a lot of them are arcane and really old-fashioned, and they're very, it takes a while to understand what all of them actually are and what they do, okay? And Trump, he's not interested. He's not even interested in reading anything past a half a page. So, I remember during his NATO trip, or before his NATO trip, they were briefing him on intel that he would need to know in 140 characters, tweet-length format. he also likes graphs and maps and can't stay focused. This is not a guy who understands Senate rules. Now, not only that, he also questioned Trump's understanding of the presidency in a recent public speech. Mr. McConnell has also made sharper comments in private, describing Mr. Trump as, quote, unwilling to learn the basics of governing. That, unfortunately, is incredibly true. Not only that, you also had an offhand remarks, and he's been particularly reserved in public, but in private, he's going all out. He has expressed a sense of bewilderment about where Mr. Trump's presidency may be headed, and mused about whether Mr. Trump will be in a position to lead the Republican Party into next year's election, and beyond. And that's according to people who have spoken with him directly. McConnell has also privately expressed horror to advisors last week after Mr. Trump's comments equating white supremacists in Charlottesville with the protesters who rallied against him. During that press conference, interestingly enough, you had Ms. Chow, which is Mitch McConnell's wife, who also serves on the administration as transportation secretary, the Trump administration. She had to stand up there, right? She had to stand next to Trump while he equivocated, blame both sides. And she had told reporters after that, I stand by my man. And by my man, I mean both of them. Because I'm in a bad position here. I mean, what is she to do? She's literally between a rock and a hard place. So she's in the middle of this feud. And I don't think it's going to go very well for her. Now, there's more. Mr. Trump also continued to badger and threaten McConnell's Senate colleagues, including Senator Jeff Flake, as I mentioned. Now, Senator Flake now has a Trump-backed primary opponent. Now, that challenger, again, backed by Trump, praised by Trump. Now, Trump also attacked Flake at a rally last night. On the other side, what you have here is McConnell and other Senate Republican officials saying that they would stand up on the side of Mr. Flake against any attacks, and actually created the super PAC aligned with Mr. McConnell that had recently released an ad going after that primary challenger. They actually called her, quote, Chemtrail Kelly. So they're painting her as a conspiracy theorist. So there's some major dramas. Now, as far as other Senate Republicans that are defending McConnell, that are with McConnell, so we're seeing two different sides take place, of course, in this little feud. And again, you know, McConnell has all these connections. Here's a couple of them. You have Senator Lindsey Graham, who's a big Trump opponent, of course. He said, when it comes to the Senate, there's an Article 5 understanding. An attack against one is an attack against all. Article 5, of course, refers to NATO. If you attack one NATO country, you attack all of them. So that's what he's referring to there. Other Senate Republicans also are pissed. You had some of them going off the record, blaming the president for not being able to rally the party around any version of legislation to repeal Obamacare. Okay. They accused him also of not knowing even the basics about the policy, which would be correct. And in his defense, I will add, nobody knew healthcare would be this complicated, except for everyone. Now, more criticism. When Mr. Trump addressed a Boy Scouts jamboree last month back in West Virginia, White House aides told senior Senator Shelley Moore Capito that she could only accompany him on Air Force One if she committed to voting for the health care bill. She had, of course, declined that invitation. You also have Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska telling colleagues that when Trump's Interior Secretary threatened to pull back federal funding, she felt boxed in and unable to vote for the health care bill. Former Senator Judd Gregg of New Hampshire, a Republican who was close to Mr. McConnell, said the frustration with Mr. Trump was boiling over in the chamber. Mr. Gregg blamed the president for undermining congressional leaders and said that the House and Senate would have to govern on their own if Mr. Trump cannot participate constructively. Quote, failure to do things like keeping the government open and passing a tax bill is the functional equivalent of playing Russian roulette with all of the chambers loaded. Oh, damn. So those are some harsh words. Now, it's not all unanimous. You do have some blame on both sides. This is Al Hoffman, a former finance chairman of the RNC, who criticized McConnell for not delivering legislative victories for Trump. That's why Trump is angry. Trump hasn't had any wins. So he takes it out of McConnell, and Hoffman's like, you know, ultimately this is Mitch's responsibility, he said. And I don't think he's done much. So, and that may be a fair point. Now, Trump, of course, did not help at all. Now, Hoffman is not, he's not really equivocating on this. He's actually saying that, look, even though it is McConnell's job to bring in victories, it's Trump that's the problem. He said, quote, I think he's going to blow up. Self-implode. And he says, quote, I wouldn't be surprised if McConnell pulls back his support of Trump and tries to go it alone. And look, so reading all this, I basically come to the conclusion that this is not a fight that Trump can win. Now, let me tell you why. He's an amateur. Mitch McConnell, he's got connections all over the Senate, and McConnell's fucking ruthless, right? Trump, yes, he projects strength, and he actually does have a lot of the base behind him. He's also an idiot. And yes, again, he talks tough, but more often than not, his tough talk is more likely to damage himself and his rivals. So that's my play of it. I think we're going to see, we're going to have to see how this plays out in 2018 if Trump has a negative impact on re-election chances of a lot of Republicans. Now, from what it looks like, McConnell, unless he loses the Senate to Democrats, he's pretty secure in his position, and he's far more secure than Donald Trump. However, if you have Trump-backed candidates beating their primary opponents, as Republicans love to primary, and I wish the Democrats also like to primary half as much as the Republicans, if they beat their, you know, if these primary opponents actually win and replace some of these establishment people like Jeff Flake, well, then, that's going to be a problem for McConnell. But if they lose, so if they win the primary, but then they lose to a Democrat, well, that's going to be very, very bad for Donald Trump, because then you're going to get the worst outcome for them, which would be a Democratic majority. If Jeff Flake is vulnerable and he loses to you know, Chemtrail Kelly, and she gets annihilated, and we've seen this happen before where a far-right candidate will win a primary and get slaughtered by the establishment Democrat, well, that's going to, again, come down on Trump. McConnell is going to be proven right. That's going to strengthen his position, okay? Now, again, there is a couple of different ways that this can go. One advantage for Trump, of course, is you have the base. He's also got Breitbart and right and far-right, alt-right media. Now, Bannon, as I said, he's going to war with people like Mitch McConnell. He's going to war with the Republican establishment. So how is that going to impact voter turnout in 2018? We'll have to see. It's going to be very interesting how this feud will continue to play out. And if you ask me, I think it's actually going to get worse before it gets better, if it ever does get better. So grab your popcorn, everybody. It's going to be very interesting. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.